Yes. Hi, South Point Church.
Hey, everybody.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome Tuesday night. Okay, I guess we'll continue to wait for people to. This is where I always want to wait for people to get online, and you say, "No, go on."
And I'm always like, let's jump in.
Yeah, so jump in on something then.
But you're driving
Yeah,
this one.
yeah, exactly.
But we're excited for you to get here.
Yeah, we're excited for you to get here. Please come fast. And we're excited to be, just be available, again on Tuesday night. It's kind of wild what we've come through in the last week. It seems like, last Tuesday night we took some time and addressed what was happening in KZN and Gauteng. And I know that at the time I could not connect with or identify with how that was really going, and the extent of what was going on. And I actually felt a little bit silly because as the week went on and as I learned more and more of what was happening, I thought like, oh man, I completely missed the mark on that, because this thing is blowing up to become like a huge thing. So
It was a wild week in our history.
yeah, I know on Tuesday last week you felt very heavy.
Yeah.
From it, and I did not feel super heavy. Good evening, Brenda.
Hi, Hobbs. Hi, Yolandi.
Good evening.
Once you get on, say hello so we know who's here.
Brenda, tell Alan to get off TikTok and to come on and join us here.
Alan use TikTok?
He does. I got him signed up.
I don't know about TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah. So, actually, speaking of TikTok, for those of you out there, TikTok is the app that is changing the world. And Instagram, the CEO or whoever of Instagram has come out and said that hi Yolandi, that Instagram is no longer going to be a Square photo sharing application, but they are trying to keep up with the way that TikTok is changing the market. And even YouTube is creating a feature that's very similar to TikTok.
Malcolm, hi.
Yes. Hi, Malcolm. Good to see you. And so last week when we were having all of the chaos break out across the country, believe it or not, TikTok is where I got the majority of my news, because all of a sudden it wasn't, young kids or people doing dumb things and dancing, like it was when it kind of started out, but it was like the most live. He uninstalled it.
Well done.
Yeah, well done, Alan. TikTok at the time, I don't know what it is now, but at the time during the riots, because it was using my location, it knew I was in South Africa. And so I was getting like real time footage of what was actually happening, because people were across the country were opening the app and they were recording what was happening in front of them. And so as I started to watch what was happening on hey there, Ted Myrtle, good to see you, Ted. As I started to open up the app and watch what was happening, it was like, oh man, it gave me a incredibly realistic picture of what was happening around the world. And so it reminded me of when Turkey, years ago, when Turkey was having a revolution against their government, and the government started shutting down communication going in and out of the country, people started turning to Twitter, and that's kind of the first time that Twitter really became the voice of the world. And it kind of felt that way this week with TikTok, that TikTok was kind of becoming the voice of South Africa, because it was the most open and easily accessible means of communicating what was going on right in front of people. Yeah, so it was crazy. It was I would have never thought that would happen.
I know. I'm not stoked. I don't like video.
Yeah. I'm not huge on it either. But
I saw someone post, what are the Instagram's changing? What do the writers do? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't like videos.
Yeah. Instagram's changing. So Instagram says that 90 or 95%, I don't remember the statistic, of its engagement happens in the top 15 pixels of the application. So the top of the application where they have the stories, everyone watches those stories, and then after they scroll through their stories, then they scroll down through the feed, and Instagram sees that and they want to compete. They want to be able to stay relevant. So that's what they're doing. But yeah, crazy week this week. It's a week that was, marked for me. As the week went on, I just realized more and more what was happening, and it just kind of unfolded more and more what was happening. And we were, praying for the country, and, and all of that stuff. And, then I felt really, kind of burdened to change the message. Like, we as a church needed to talk about these things. And I got some good advice from Brenda and Alan Hobbs, who really confirmed, like, Chris, let's talk about this. Like, as a church, let's talk about it.
It's a great message.
Yeah, that was, so then on, Thursday afternoon, Friday, it was like, okay, God, you better give me something to say here. And I felt like God gave me a message, and was able to deliver that. And it got a really good response. So I think, as of right now, it's our most viewed video across Facebook and YouTube, and that's not because of me, but that's just because it was relevant.
Yeah, people want to know what's going on in the nation through the church.
Yeah,
the lens of the church. I do.
Yeah, it was just a relevant topic, and so. But I know it felt good for me to be able to. I mean, just imagine, guys, how tricky it would be for an American or a foreigner. Just imagine being a foreigner, even though we've lived here for so long, being a foreigner and wanting to kind of weigh in on, local issues. So take America out and take South Africa out, and just think a foreigner in a foreign country, wanting to weigh in on local issues. So I know that I treated it with like a ton of reverence. I mean, I did not take that lightly. And I was like, like every word that was in my heart and that I wrote down on paper, I examined and took it to God and said, is this the word? Is this what you want me to use? And so I know I treated it with just complete reverence. And so I was really thankful that it was well received. And then it's been great to see that things are kind of slowly starting to, to kind of clean up. It was really exciting to see. We had a guy in our church, Glenn McKay, who, was able to mobilize some supplies and send those off. And he sent a picture today to some groups.
Awesome.
Yeah, showing the amount of stuff that you guys donated.
Yeah, well done, church.
Yeah, so well done, church. For those of you wondering, we as a church are going to be donating and giving and helping with relief in Durban. We're going to do that through one of our partner churches that's in Durban. It's called Grace Family. And there right now, they've said, Chris, hang on a second. Let's take an assessment of what's happening in our church, because I know they had some church members whose businesses burned down and things like that. And so we will be helping them. But what's amazing about you guys is you guys were able to jump on and respond to a really great opportunity that Glenn put forward. So I thought that was really cool. So it's been, I know for a lot of people in really affected areas, it may be a better week, but I know that a better week could have come sooner. And so I don't want to make light of that, but I know for us, it's been encouraging to see that things are getting better. So yeah, that's happened, since last week.
Yeah, so many things since last week.
Oh, what else has happened since last week?
Just that alone is so many things. It's a lot. It's a lot that everyone has been impacted by it.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, everyone has. I always know that it's big news when, I start getting phone calls or emails or messages from people in the States saying, hey, we're hearing about this. Yeah. We're praying for you. I had a couple churches reach out to me saying, how can we pray for you guys? How can we, churches in the States that reached out and said, hey, how can we pray for you guys? So, when news is traveling around the world like that, it's a big deal. So anyway, we're praying that things continue to get better and better. And like I said on Sunday, I believe in South Africa. I mean, I was able to stand on stage and proclaim proudly and with complete assurance that this country is one of the most resilient countries in the world, and that it is going to come, it's going to just, darkness always kind of comes in, and hurt takes its place in society, and maybe grabs control from time to time. But as South Africans, and the good that is the people of South Africa always pokes through the darkness, and and shines a light. And so that's So I fully believe that. So Casey and I kind of thought we would do a bit of a grab bag of topics tonight. The first thing I thought we would talk about is something that I kind of wanted to demystify, something that I want you guys to hear how normal we are, and hopefully it helps you to feel normal, and hopefully it helps you to feel encouraged. And so I thought we would talk about what it looks like to have a quiet time for Casey and I. Now, as your pastors, I don't know what your expectation is. I don't know if you expect that, every morning we get on our knees and we transcend, our spirit leaves our body and goes up and has a picnic with Jesus. We talk to him, and his glory shines on our face, and we float out of the room and fart rainbows. That's not.
You had to bring it in.
Yeah, that's not what it's like, and so our quiet times can be quite normal. So I thought, we would share that. I know that it's kind of we're now like in month 2 of this additional lockdown. So if anyone is feeling like it's a bit of a grind, every normal thing can be a little bit harder, and can be a little bit. It just feels like it's harder to get around to it, and that can be okay. So tell them, as a working mom of a 13-year-old and a toddler, what does your quiet time look like? Or your time with Jesus? Quiet time's sort of an antiquated term, but when you have a devotional time.
It looks a little bit different every morning, I would say, but I have an early riser. Benjamin wakes up very early, so I have to beat him. So I get up between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. And before I set it up before I go to bed at night, and make sure everybody's coffee is ready to just flick a button and get ready, and the table is set and all that stuff. But so I get up, and I actually first thing is get the coffee going, and then I sit down, and it kind of depends on how awake I am.
Yeah,
kind of depends on what the night was like and the day before was like. So sometimes I have to. I mom chug the while I go. That's a real thing. I just chug that coffee, and sometimes I'm trying to read through the Bible in a year. I used to do it often, and then I had a small child. I got pregnant and had a baby. So I'm trying it back again this year. So I actually bought a Bible where you just read the day's pages, like you go through the whole Bible in the year. So a lot of times I'll read the Bible while drinking the coffee, and I'll have the Enduring Word Bible study up next to it, so I can learn from it. Sometimes I start with that, and then we'll journal what I thought about it. Sometimes I'll put on worship music and take communion. Sometimes I just lay on a couch in the dark and listen to worship music.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do my Help Club Bible study, and sometimes I just journal what I'm thinking about, but I just address it to God, because I have so many things in my head. I just address it to God, have a good cry, or whatever it is.
Throw the cry in there.
Whatever it is.
Nice.
Sometimes you gotta have a good cry.
Yeah. And then once the kids are up, it's like
Showtime.
It's showtime. Showtime, go time.
Yeah, party on.
Yeah. For me, a quiet time, I try and get up early as well. It took me the first 5 years of our marriage to train myself to get up at 4 a.m. And then that's definitely slacked off a little bit from...
It's a night wind, though.
I get a bit of a night wind, and so I can be up a little bit late at night. We always go to bed together, but I'll stay up late. I'll stay up and read. I'll keep us both awake for too long.
I could go to sleep at 8:30 if I was allowed to.
Yeah. Whereas I'm more of a 10 o'clock person, but I try and get up really early. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 4:30, sometimes it's 5. But I also get up and do the same thing. Hey, coffee first thing. I mean, I think Jesus understands that. So I boil the water that Casey's already boiled once. So the kettle is kind of like ready to go. And I fill my coffee. I fill my press, 4 scoops of coffee, Camisa Dark House only, and then fill it up with water. And I get all my cups. I've got an empty coffee cup. I've got the press. I've got a cup of water, and I bear hug all that stuff over to my office. And I sit down, and I'm kind of like Casey. Some mornings, man, I'm like feeling great, and I'll pull out. I'll read the Bible. I'll pray. I'll journal. I'll open up a commentary and read and study and do all these things. And then some mornings I don't even, like, I sit at my desk and I put my forehead on the desk and I close my eyes and I put on worship music and I go to sleep. So, and then I wake up with a desk line across my forehead. But my favorite thing to do, I always try and journal something. So I'll write something for the day, even if it's just a couple sentences. And on days, even when I don't really feel like I have the capacity to have a quiet time or a devotional time with Jesus, I just think, to me, reading the Bible is kind of like taking your vitamins. You don't really feel when you take vitamin C. You don't always feel like, oh, I took vitamin C, so now I feel amazing. That's not always the case or ever the case. And reading, God's word to me is kind of that way. Like, you know what? I just need to get the word in me. Like, I may not feel anything from it. I may not have something happen because of it, but I just need to get it in me because it's healthy for it to be in me. Mm-hmm. And so on those like really tired, hard mornings or something, I'll just open the Bible and I'll read a couple verses and I'll say, well, there it is, the vitamin C. I've got it in me. And then that's all that I have that day, And then there's other days where, where I study and I read, and it's I feel like I have a great prayer time and all of that stuff. So, what translation are you reading right now? We're getting a little bit like Bible nerdy, but unless you guys start commenting and asking other questions, we're just going to go with it.
I'm reading the CSB for the first time.
Christian Standard Bible.
Some of my favorite cross references is the Amplified and the Passion Translation, though.
What's cross references?
Like to look to see, okay, here's how they worded it in this translation. Now the Amplified Bible is cool because they use brackets and explain what the words mean from the first language translation. And then the Passion Translation actually translates from Aramaic rather than Hebrew, and so
yeah, but it's kind of like the Message.
Yes, it's
sort
like
of like
a
poetic summary.
Because it uses word for word from Aramaic, which is a heart language rather than a head language. So it sounds quite different, but it captures like the emotion side of it. Like the Psalms and the Passion Translation is cool.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm diehard Amplified. I love the Amplified Bible because of the brackets. It can make it hard to read out loud, but once you kind of get used to it, the brackets just explain what the words mean, and that to me is really, really good. If you guys are looking for a Bible version to get into, like if you're trying to read the Bible for the first time, I would say, start with something like, you can download the YouVersion Bible app, and the cool thing about that is you can read all kinds of translations for free and find the translation that you like, and then maybe go buy that Bible. But I love the Amplified Bible. I use this app called Tecarta, Tecarta. I also, read the physical Bible, but in that app, it lets me, kind of like YouVersion, I can choose different translations, but then it's got different study Bibles, and it's got all kinds of other like commentaries and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so when I study a verse or prepare for a sermon, I'll look it up in 5 or 6 different translations, and then I'll read 3 or 4, sometimes 5 different study Bible notes, and then I'll read a couple different commentaries. And that's kind of how I kind of pick the text apart. I want to give you guys a life hack or a Bible hack. We found a commentary, and a commentary is basically what somebody has said about the Bible. So they read the Bible and then they kind of give their comments on it. And there's some. What are the famous commentaries? Strong's, is that one?
That's like a concordance. That's like a word study.
Wrong
like
word.
MacArthur's commentary.
MacArthur commentary. It's old people writing in old
Very
English.
Smart people who have done the studies.
Yeah, and
historical.
It's literally impossible to understand for a normal person.
Storm.
Yes, hi Shakira and Storm. But you guys can go to a website, www.enduring, ENDURING, WORD.com. And there is a guy named David Guzik who wrote a commentary of the Bible. And he has an app called the Enduring Word, app.
Super cool.
It's very simple, very basic, but his entire commentary is on an app. Or if you go to his website, you can buy his commentary, but they also have it for free. And then you just type in the book and the chapter and stuff. And then what he does is when you open it up and you look at the passage that you're looking for, it'll have like the verse, and then under it, it'll have, hey Shakira, it'll have like somebody's notes or comments on it. And he quotes a lot of other people like Charles Spurgeon and other people like that. But you learn a ton of stuff about the Bible through commentaries, and his is a great place to start.
Yeah, especially the verses that don't make sense.
Yeah, if you read
all of the Old Testament.
Yeah, if you read something that doesn't make sense, I go to I'll go to like study notes, like the ESV, English Standard Version study notes, but then I always end up in Enduring Word.
Straight to Enduring
Word. Check out that commentary.
Like reading the whole Bible, reading through the Bible, a lot of it is like you said, like you just got to get it in, like the book of Numbers.
Yeah.
Some of it you just get it in to get the big picture of the story of the Bible, to kind of get to know God as you go. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, even in the book of Numbers, I'll go to Enduring Word and try to figure out what something means.
Yeah.
Just a little nugget.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like if you're reading a teaching on Jesus or something, or you're having, you do your little daily devotional, or you're a part of Will's broadcast list where he sends a verse out to all the guys in the church, and you read that verse and you're like, well, but what does that really mean? What is that? Where does that actually come from? And you can look it up in Enduring Word and get a little bit of context around it. So yeah, it's very cool. So I thought we would talk about our quiet times. Really, I hope that you guys just hear from us. It's very normal to have good quiet times, bad quiet times. It's normal to put your head down on your desk and sleep through them. The important thing is that Jesus knows that you desire to spend time with him, and outside of that, it's okay. I also thought we would give a couple recommendations. So Casey has a book recommendation for you guys.
Yeah, so recently I read the book called The Making of an Ordinary Saint by Nathan Foster. And it was kind of out of this, you may have heard of the book called Celebration of Disciplines by, what's his name, Richard Foster?
Yeah, Richard Foster.
It's like this timeless classic. I've never read it. I actually just started reading it, but I've never read it. But
it's thick.
Famous, and it's like, it's meaty.
Very
and
meaty.
All about spiritual formation. So it's not about like, you should do this and this and this. It's like, you can draw closer to God by these practices. But then his son wrote a very story, casual, very authentic, raw version of it. Basically, he tried out all the disciplines and bombed at a lot of them and didn't like a lot of them. But I think the subtitle of the book is called My Journey from Frustration to Joy with the Spiritual Disciplines. And so it just you kind of get it that way, and it's like a normal guy. Actually, I was like, did my husband write this book?
She said many times, did you write
it's
part of this? And I listened to it. I listened to the audiobook, and I was like, oh, I can completely identify with this guy. But
so I could relate to it because it was like, oh,
I married this. So the point is, imagine. So Richard Foster writes this book called Celebration of Discipline, and it's known across all of Christianity as being a formational book.
Yeah, it's like a go-to.
He took the 7 disciplines, fasting is one, community is one, solitude is one, prayer is one. So he took these 7 disciplines and wrote this book that became like the go-to standard. And it's not an easy book to read. Like, this guy is smart,
You had to chew it.
Yeah, you really have to chew on. It's like, read a chapter, think about it for a week.
I did not have time for that. I did not want to chew.
Yeah, Casey's not a chewer. But what's interesting about the book Casey's recommending is, it's like, what happens if a normal dude applies these things? Like, what happens if a normal guy who had a drug addiction and a busy working dad and not a great, past, like, what happens if just a normal guy tries these disciplines? And that's what the book is. And so it was, even me, I've been through the Celebration of Discipline, like the meaty one, probably 5-6 different times, and led people through it and read it. And I loved the book that Casey's recommending.
Yeah.
It was really good. And
it's like normal people can find joy in normal ways.
Yeah. And it kind of demystifies things. So if you're sitting, if the discipline of solitude, like, you're sitting there and you can't make your mind be quiet and you just feel silly and stupid, well, he addresses that from a normal point of view. And it's
comical.
Yeah, it's hilarious, but it's also like, it's real. And so it's always good to know that. Because the greatest thing that we do is we're like, am I doing this wrong?
Yeah.
Like, am I doing my Bible wrong? Am I reading my quiet time wrong? Am I, like, doing whatever wrong? And it's just nice to know that, you know what? You're not. You're just like everyone else. And God knows your heart. So that's Casey's book recommendation. I did not read it. I listened to it. So I got it on Apple Books, but it's on Audible and, everywhere else. And I have a music recommendation for you guys. And the music recommendation that I have is a band or a group called Harvest, Harvest. It is a female-led singer. I don't think it's a full band. I think it's just her. I think her name is Harvest. And the album is Preachers, How do you spell that?
Preachers.
Yeah, Preachers. And that album is awesome. So I've basically had that album on repeat for the last month. So it is very, very good. Especially track number 2, which I can't remember the name.
Because you listen to things in order.
I listen to music in order. And so track number 2.
Shuffle is life.
Yeah. A quick funny side story. Remember that time that we were going to get Lefa and you shuffled an album?
God.
So one time Casey and I were on a long road trip to go pick Lefa up. And I had all my music on this big, one of those old school iPods that has 90 gigs of space on it. And I had all my music on there. And
shuffling opportunity.
No, you don't shuffle. So when an album is made, the band and the producer puts time into thinking about the order of the songs. That's why song 1 is 1, and 2 is 2, and 3 is 3, and so on and so forth. There's a method to how you should listen to the album. They want to take you on a journey. And if you just shuffle, then you're just throwing all their ambition.
Surprises.
No, you're throwing everything that they care about out the window. You're saying, I don't care about you. And Casey and I were driving down the road, and were we even married?
I don't know. Alan Hobbs, who are you saying is nonsense? That's what I want to know. I hope it's Chris.
Obviously, Casey's nonsense because you listen to things in order.
I don't think we were married yet. And no, you know what I used to do in college? I would put on headphones. My campus was very large, and we had to walk to different buildings. And I would shuffle, and every time I entered a new space, thank you, Alan, I would hit shuffle and see what the surprise would be to walking into that new building or new space. It was so fun.
Now, what happens when you're a shuffle person is you miss the musical experience that they want you to have.
Freedom.
And so Casey
bound to someone else.
Casey and I were driving down the road, and we listened to a song, and I was expecting the next song to come on, and I did not know that it was in her hands or that she had set it to shuffle. Mm-hmm. And a different song came on, and I was like, wait, what? And
Yeah, that was before we were married.
yeah, it was.
But let's talk about what happened on the way home from our honeymoon. I found out that humans make and buy remix albums. I didn't know this was a thing.
Okay, so Casey had no idea that
Thank you, Sean, by the way. Life is a box of chocolates.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
But you're missing the crafted experience, Sean.
Just take the chocolate, see what's in it.
Yeah, it'd be like Sean's an architect, and it would be like someone taking your plans and cutting it into squares and then just haphazardly taping it together and being like, well, I guess we'll get the room that we get. Let's let the room be a surprise.
Sean, debunk that.
And
let's talk about remix albums.
Yeah. Okay, so remix albums, what happens is a normal album comes out and it's got great songs on it, and it's so great that so many other people decide that they want to do their own version of that. And many of those...
This was one person.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It's one song. Get the order right. And so many people think this song is so great that they do the song.
It was literally an album of the same song.
Yeah, then you get a remix album. It was.
We listen to it often.
It was Odessa, great band, great band.
It's not the only remix album you have.
And I have several, and it was great. But all the songs are a little bit different because they've been remixed.
Also the same.
It is technically is the same, but different.
Anyone else do you own remix albums?
Come on, remix albums.
I don't think people do.
Never heard of a person who does not like shuffle. Alan Hobbs.
My people.
Yeah.
This is my church.
Oh my goodness. No, you don't. I want my crafted experience. I process music's the only way I know how to process emotion.
Okay, that's real, and we don't need to go down that dark hole tonight because
it is a dark hole.
Music are other people's emotions.
Yeah, and so you use other people's emotions to process
It's
your emotions.
Cut it off.
So then
done.
you don't have to use your own. So that's the way that we do it.
Therapist.
Yeah. So who's it worse for, me or you? Definitely.
It's time to end the video.
Yeah. Okay. So the wife says it's done. Those are our. You've got our book recommendations. You've got our music recommendations. We told you about our quiet time, which hopefully it encourages you. And if you feel like you're not normal and you don't have great, amazing quiet times, you know what? You're normal. And Jesus loves you just the way that you are. All he cares about is that you want to spend time with him. So go and spend time with Jesus. And
just do something every day. And if you don't, do something the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things to do is a friend of mine is using Camisa's coffee shop a lot, and he comes from another church, and he has people from his creative team come in, and they're all these like young adults, and they come in and they meet with him. And I like going up to him, and he'll say, hey, I'd like for you to meet Pastor Chris. And I'll say, hey, man, what's your name? And they're trendy, and they're young, and they're all that stuff. And I'll say, hey, did you read your Bible today?
You do not.
I do, because they're supposed to be, they're Christians. They're working in a church, and they're, and they'll look at me and be like, yeah. And I'll be like, did you pray today? And they'll be like, yeah.
Do that?
I'm like, did you talk to Jesus today? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, did you get pumped on Jesus today? And so I get them all hyped up. And then as I walk away, I the last guy I did this to, I heard him look at Stefan and say, he's a pastor? And Stefan's like, yeah, man, he's the pastor of this church here. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's fun to do that.
But an easy kickstart is you going onto YouVersion and using one of their plans.
Yes, of which Casey has written a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Plug. Yeah.
Help Club for Moms has plans.
Help Club for Moms has plans as well. YouVersion has great plans. Right Now Media has great devotional stuff that you can do as well. If you need a link for Right Now Media, DM us and we'll send you a link. All that's free. So thank you guys. We have kept you for the 35 minutes, 5 minutes longer than we said. Thanks for joining us tonight. Alan, I'm praying for you. I do not agree with your life choices, but because Brenda is so wonderful, then I'll
I'm
take
sure Brenda shuffles.
I'll take you with it. And yeah, it's good to see everyone else on here.
We love you guys.
We love you guys. We miss you. We can't wait to be in person again. And yeah, can't wait to talk to you guys again next week.
Yeah. See you Thursday, 8 p.m. for South Point Praise.
Yes, absolutely. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.